So, hello everyone. This is the Green Fox Academy Stay-at-Home Coding Camp. I hope that everyone has arrived that wanted to, or maybe they will join later. We are quite a few already, but I guess there are going to be more. So, hi, I'm Adam. My name is Adam Dulavari, and I'm going to be holding this first session introducing HTML and CSS for you, and we will talk about how the course is going to be scheduled and everything like that. So this is what this session is going to be about. But a little bit about myself. I am Adam, and I'm teaching at Green Fox Academy. And you might be wondering why I'm speaking in English. I'm speaking in English because we organized this event for the Czech part of our school and the Hungarian part of our school. So this is basically going to be just a introduction to the topics that you will have to acknowledge at the beginning of this course. And tomorrow you will be working on exercises together with other Hungarian students and other Czech students, and there you will be able to talk to each other in Hungarian or in Czech or in English if you prefer that, and that is going to be perfectly fine. So this is going to be in English, but I will try to use as simple words as possible, and hope that you will understand everything based on my previous experiences. The last one was also understandable, at least I hope. So I'm teaching at Green Fox for 4 years now. Before that, I was a software developer, developed mobile applications and web applications and a lot of other stuff. And now I really like to talk to people and work with people, so I decided to move on to actually teaching, and this is what I ended up with. So I'm going to be teaching you the basics of HTML and CSS today. But before that, let's talk about how the course will actually look like. You received already this website. What I'm scrolling down here, I hope, because this is where the stream link is, so probably you already know this. We are going to put every information here and every link to the exercises, to the YouTube streams or to the recordings. This is also a returning question: is this going to be recorded? I mean, this session, yes, this is going to be recorded, so you will be able to rewatch it as many times as you want, and also the exercises are going to be online all the time, so you will be able to check them out if you want. But there are a couple of frequently asked questions, and they are already happening in the comment section as I can see that. And here are a couple of questions that we already collected and answered. So, for example, the recording is somewhere here. I'm not sure where it is right now. Yeah, so are the training materials are still available after the course for the participants? So this is going to be available. This is going to be recorded, so you can rewatch it in your own time if you want to. And other than that, how this course will look like, I hope that you could watch this video. This talks about the basics of how we wanted to create this course and what are going to be the building blocks. But just to quickly summarize what is going to happen in this 3 weeks that you will be spending with us, I hope, or even more if you decide to continue on this journey. But the point is that in this 3 weeks we are going to have 2 types of events. The first type is something like this. This is what we will call material review. This is going to happen on YouTube here, as you can see it already. And this is where we will introduce you to new topics. So we will talk about a bunch of new things. I will explain how this works. You will be able to follow it on the YouTube stream. And if something is not clear, you can ask questions in the comment sections, and we will try to answer them either in the comment sections or in speaking. So this is one type of event. This is what's going to happen today. Tomorrow we will have the other type of event, which is called a workshop, and that is where you will be able to work with on exercises with your study group, and that is going to happen on Discord. The communication there is going to happen on Discord. So today, right now, you don't need Discord. You just need to watch and enjoy this material review that I will present to you, and try to remember or understand as much things as possible from it. And tomorrow you will be actually doing exercises with these knowledge. Obviously, in the exercises there is going to be also explanations, so you don't have to remember everything. It is going to be a good overview of what you will be able to do tomorrow on your own with the exercises, what they were going to be about. So this is basically the 2 type of things that will happen. Material review on YouTube. The link is going to be here all the time, and the workshop where you are doing exercises is going to be on Discord. And for the exercises, we will also put the link here, but we will also send it to Discord. And Discord is a chat application. Basically, you are able to chat in text, and you are able to chat in voice even if you want to, and you can work together as a group on the exercises. The Discord invitation link we will send out tomorrow because it is only valid for 24 hours. So we will be sending those out tomorrow. You will receive it in an email. And then from that point, we will be communicating on Discord, and we will be communicating on this website. So these are going to be the 2 sources of information about anything regarding this situation. But on Discord, you will be able to ask questions if you need anything, and here we are trying to collect all the frequently asked ones, so you might not even have to ask it if you check this site. And about the schedule of how and what we were going to talk about, this is also something that we will send you, so you don't have to oh my God, what's the website and where I have to write it down. So you will get it when you will need it. Not today or right now, you don't really need it. I'm just showing you because it contains the weekly schedule of how this whole thing is going to be put together. So for example, this is the first week, and as you can see that there is today is Monday, and we are having the HTML CSS basics material review on YouTube. So this is what's happening today. Tomorrow we will have a workshop on Tuesday, and actually there is going to be the exercises here. So this is exactly the site that we are going to send you tomorrow. and this is where you will find the exercises. And on Wednesday, we are going to have a material review again, continuing with the HTML and CSS, just a little bit of moving forward with the topics, a little bit more advanced topics. And then on Thursday, we are going to have another workshop for those topics. So another round of exercises and working on exercises to ensure that you actually do the things that we are talking about. And on Friday, we are going to have a workshop again. It is going to be a summary of the week's learnings, a bigger website or a bigger project. In the workshop, we will have smaller exercises that are not connected together. And on the Friday workshop, we are going to have a bigger exercise, only one, but a bigger exercise that kind of puts together what we tried out during the previous days. And because it is a bigger exercise, that is what's going to be continued on the next Monday. And for those who are progressing well, there is always more exercise. So there is going to be a complicated or more complicated version of this, but you will be able to check it out when we get there. And then on the next week, on Tuesday, we are going to get into a little bit of GitHub and version control of what's that and how does that work with the material review on YouTube. And we will have a workshop for that, of course. On Thursday, the last topic that is going to be JavaScript and the basics of DOM on YouTube as a material review. And then we are going to have a workshop for that as well. So this is what's going to be the first 2 weeks. And the third week is again going to be one bigger exercise that is going to summarize this whole thing. And it will use all bits and places or everything. So this is the plan of the 3 weeks. The third week is just going to be workshops, so there is not going to be any new materials there. It is just creating one bigger project hopefully at the end of the week completely, and you will be able to put it on the web and show it to anyone that you want to. So looking at the schedule, you might look at that there is a workshop on Friday and there is a workshop on Monday, and if we are thinking that this Friday is going to be Good Friday and Monday is going to be the Easter Monday, you can see that this is where this two workshops are, and they are going to be on that day. So we are going to start the workshop on Discord, and you can work on the exercise on the given time frame on these days. But obviously, if you have something that you need to do, or you are with family or something else, the exercise is going to be online. You can catch up with it later, or do it later when you actually have the time. But yeah, so we are going to hold it in the original time. But obviously in this special case it is going to be optional, but since everybody is home, probably I will figure that most of you or most of us is going to be available on these days. So this is about the schedule, and you will receive the Discord link tomorrow when you will actually need it. And what will happen today? Today we are going to go through the topics that are needed for tomorrow's exercises. So this is basically what I will try to do. For that, I have list of topics that I want to go through, and these are divided into 4 parts. So we are going to have breaks in this 4-hour session. Basically, every hour I would like to have a 10-minute break or something like that, and then we will be able to you will be able to refresh or drink something, or I will be able to refresh and drink something as well. So yeah. Okay, so this is the topics. I talked about the schedule. I talked about this website where you can find frequently asked questions, and I talked about the schedule, and I talked about what will happen in this 4 hours. So I hope that we are ready to go, at least for the first part of this introduction. So what we are going to do is we are going to build websites. So we will learn the basics of how to create web pages, and that is going to be HTML and CSS for the very beginning, because that is what builds up a website just like this. This is also HTML and CSS, or actually this is also HTML and CSS. So you can build up things like this with that, and this is what we will try out today, or try to understand today. And for this, we will use a website that is called Codepen, and the reason behind that is because then you will be able to create HTML and CSS without actually installing any software on your machine. So we will be working on Codepen this week, but next week we are going to move this work onto our actual computer. So you will be working on your machine, on your files. So that is what's going to happen next week. That is basically the first topic that I already talked about. So that is going to happen on Tuesday, and how to do that, how to use previous things that we created on this week on your machine and stuff like that. But for now, we are going to use Codepen, because that is just very easy to use, and you are able to easily just open codepen.io, codepen.io. If you don't have a registration, you can create a user, and you will see something like this. It is basically a site for trying out HTML and CSS combinations, try out little things, and there are a lot of interesting designs that others created, what you can check out. But for now, we are going to start from scratch. So from a new and empty pen, because the pen is going to be basically what we are going to create. So I will click on this create pen, just to show you that this is how you can create one after you actually created an account. And this is going to be the editor, what you will receive. But I already created one in what I will work, because that is in the description under the stream. So if you want to look at what I'm doing, or you just want to save it, or anything like that, you can find the Codepen that I will use in the description under the stream. But I hope that you will be able to check it out if you want to. there is a question about groups tomorrow. You will be grouped automatically, so and randomly, and if you have someone or you want to switch, then you will be able to switch. We will try to figure out something, but yeah. So that is going to be happening tomorrow. So right now you don't really need to worry about that. Tomorrow we will send you the Discord invites, and after putting after opening that, you will be figuring out in which group you are. And also, it is not going to be entirely random. So if you want to be in the same group with one person, if you open the invite link at the same time, you will be getting probably the same group. So this is a very easy hack to get into the same group. So you can talk with someone if you want to be together in a group to open the link at the same time. Okay, so this is a pen created. Again, codepen.io, and you will be able to find this even before, I think, you created an account, but after you register to this site, you will be able to create a pen, and this is what we will create for every exercise. And here is the thing that I created already, and this has the description. This has the link. I mean, the description has the link for this pen. Okay. So, what's here, and what you can do with this is basically you can type HTML and CSS and JavaScript code into this basically editor, and in the bottom you will have the preview of what you are creating. So right now we are not going to need the JavaScript editor at all, because we will just learn about JavaScript later on the second week. So this is not really needed, and you can minimize it if you want to. So we are not going to work with JavaScript. We are just only going to work with HTML and CSS, and this is going to be what we need. So here you are going to put your code, and then here you will be able to see the result. So let's try out anything. Basically, you can put, this is a text editor, so you can put any kind of text in the editors, and what you will see is that it will automatically appear in the preview as well. Okay, so this is so far so good. And basically an HTML and source code is basically just text that is a little bit structured. So you need to follow a couple of rules in order to create HTML and CSS. But if you put any text in an HTML file, that is going to be displayed. The HTML part is going to be the content of the website, and the CSS is going to be the styling. How should it look like, and what is going to be the style of the content. So here we will put what we want to display, and in the other one we will put how we want to display it, basically. And both of them have a little bit of structure and little rules what we need to follow, and that's basically the idea. Okay, so we know how we can use Codepen. So basically, the next thing that we would need to talk about is what is an HTML element and how does it look like. So an HTML element is usually starting with I will remove this for now. An HTML element is usually going to start with a duck face sign, or this smaller than or greater than sign, depending on where you are looking at it, and this is going to be a special character for that, to open an HTML tag or element. And then comes the name of the HTML element, which is there are many of them, so you can use a lot of them, but for the sake of simplicity and let's try to find the most commonly used, it is going to be probably the paragraph. So the paragraph is just a P. This is how it is called. This is a P element or P tag. And then you have to put the matching closing sign of this greater than or smaller than sign, or duck face, however you like to call it. And this is basically the tag. Usually it is not looking just like this, but it also has this is what's called an opening tag. And this is usually have a closing pair. The closing pair looks exactly the same. It just have a slash before the name. So this is how it looks like. And this is the closing pair for the paragraph tag. As you can see, the Codepen is already highlighting the matching opening tag or closing tag that helps you see what is the other pair of where you are with the cursor right now. And why does this have an opening and a closing tag? Because inside of that you can have content. So the paragraph is going to be a paragraph element, and what the paragraph contains, usually a text, is going to be between the tags. So this is a paragraph. And it doesn't look any different than before, but what's different is that we are going to be able to style this, and if it's just text on its own, then we are not going to be able to style it, or not really specifically. So this is a paragraph tag. There are a lot of other tags. For example, you can use, usually if you look at the HTML, it is basically a document just that is viewable in the browser. So it is stylish. It has images. It has a lot of things, but basically it is more like a Word document. So most probably anything that you can do or able to pull off in a Word document, you will be able to do it here. So the point of why I was talking about this is that probably in a Word document you already used headers or titles like that, and this is true for HTML. You want to have titles on your website probably, other than paragraphs. So the titles or headers are going to have their own tags or their own elements, and they are called H1, for example. H1. This is going to be a header element, and if I close it, then it won't make the paragraph also huge, but this is going to be this is the title of this page, let's say. So basically now we created a header element and the paragraph element, and they are the only difference is that they have different content, and they have different tag names. And if you remember, you will be able to get a feeling about why this is called H1. Probably even in Word, you can see that there are multiple versions of the header. So you can have the main title of the whole document. You can have subtitles or section titles and stuff like that. And those are named header 2 or header 3 or header 4. And this is true for HTML again. There is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 headers. So from H1 to H6, you can have headers in HTML. This is the smallest header. You can see that this is very small. It is even smaller than the paragraph. So, but we will be able to change that if we want to. So yeah, this is basically you can try out all the header elements, H2, H3, H4, H5, and they are going to be like these smaller and decreasing in sizes. But we can say that this is the subtitle and that is the smallest header, and I will just leave these 3 examples so we are not overwhelmed with examples. Okay, so header elements, opening tag and closing tag, paragraph tags, and opening and closing tags. And let's see what I need to talk about. Okay, nesting elements. So far, we only created elements that had just simple text as their inner content. So there is only just text in them. But that's not the only thing that you can put in HTML tags. You can put other HTML elements inside anything, basically. So these are you can nest them into each other. And what am I talking about is basically you can create, for example, and actually there was an example for this as well, if you checked it out before, because when I tried to create the first H1, if you remember, I did this, and then because there is no closing pair for this H1 element, basically everything that comes afterwards is going to be inside of that H1 element. So this is going to be the content of H1. Just like this, and I can close it here if I want to. It's basically the same. If I don't close it, then everything that is the rest is going to be inside of the opened element. And you can see that now this is not a paragraph anymore. This is a header and a paragraph. This is not the best example, so I will remove that. But you can put other elements into elements, and why is that useful? Because sometimes you want to structure your HTML code, because it is not going to be just this 4 lines very simply, but it is going to have a header that has multiple buttons, for example, inside, or you can have multiple paragraphs and multiple articles or blog posts that you want to want to create, and every blog post will have a title and paragraph section. So you probably want to group those things together. So for example, there are some called semantic elements. They are only used for grouping other elements, but this is why I'm going to show an example of a semantic element that is called, for example, header. So a header element is going to be something that can contain the parts of your code that is basically the header part of the code. It has a pair that is you probably know that in the bottom of the page there can be a footer. So this is also a semantic element that you can put the footer related elements inside of the footer element. So in order to create a header element, it is going to be exactly the same. We need the duck faces, and then we need to close the header element at some point. And now, basically, what I have in the header element is one h1 element, but I can have multiple ones if I want to. So I can move this subtitle into the header, and then I can have, let's say that I have a main semantic element, because this is going to be the main content, and I will close the main here. And this is perfectly okay. You can group them. You can group your content anyhow you like. There are many of the semantic elements that you can use to group these things. I'm not making these up. There is a list of them what you can use, but there are usually how you can group things together on a website. So, for example, there is article. Probably for articles, there is a section for sections of the pages, and there are many more that I don't even know, but you can check it out. And tomorrow on the exercises, you will have a link to the full list of these elements if you're really curious what are they going to be, or how they can be used. So this is basically grouping and nesting elements into one another, and this goes basically until you want to. So if you want, you can group this whole. Right now, the header is grouping these two elements, and the main is grouping these other two elements. But you can also group these all together if you want to. So you can create, let's say, a div element that is also a grouping element like that, and put the whole thing into a div, and then you are basically having everything inside the div element. This is perfectly okay. Why is this useful? Because now everything is inside the div. If you set some styling rule for the div, it is going to be applied for every part of your page. If you style something in the header, then it is going to be applied for everything in the header, and then you can style individually the header 1 and the header 2, and then the paragraphs and so on. So grouping basically the content is what they are used for. Okay. Nesting elements and block versus inline elements is the next topic. So where am I? Here am I. So far you can see that basically everything that we created is on a new line. Even if I put and this is not because I put everything on a new line in the code, but I did it because of habit. But even if I create another paragraph here, for example, another paragraph, you can create as many paragraph. Can I type? As many paragraphs and as many headers and as many H1s and H2s as you want. So this is not just for single use. You can use unlimited amounts of divs or H1s or H2s, however you like. But the thing is that if I create another paragraph here, you can see that the another paragraph is on a new line. It is because a paragraph is something that is called a block element, and actually everything that I created here is a block element. So everything is going to be basically whole page long. Basically a paragraph is going to be this big, and all of them are going to stretch through the whole wide width of the page. And the reason behind it is because usually you have a longer text, and then if a paragraph contains a longer text, something longer, then it will just split the text whenever it reaches the end of the page. So if the page is smaller, then it can be splitted into multiple lines, just like here in the editor. But since it is still not long enough to be splitted, then it is not going to be splitted right now. But you can imagine a longer paragraph is usually an article or something like you read in a newspaper article or something that is in multiple lines usually. But the whole thing is going to be in one box. So this is what a block element is. This is a block of text or a block of elements, a box of elements. And why is this important right now? Is because sometimes you want to have parts of the text to be styled. So, for example, I want this something to be a little bit different than the rest of the text. And if you are only able to style HTML tags, and you will be able to only style HTML tags, then somehow you need to have a tag or an HTML element that is going to surround this. And the block element, as we saw, if we use another header or another P or something else, it is going to block the whole thing. So it is going to make the whole something one line, and then it is going to be in 3 lines. So for example, if I put another P here, I can do that. Then what we will see is that another paragraph is on the first line, then something on the second line, and longer is on the third line, because they are all wide length. But you can use not block elements for this, and not block elements are called inline elements, and they are called inline for exactly the same reason, because they are going to be in line of the text. So they are not going to break the text into multiple lines, for example. So instead of using the P tag, if we use an inline element that is, for example, strong, then we will see that it is in one line, and it is actually a little bit bold. So you can use to make a text bold with the strong HTML tag, and it is just going to make the text bold. So you're not going to have multiple lines or multiple blocks because of it. I will actually get rid of this now, because we don't really need it anymore. Okay, so You can nest elements inside of other into other elements, and I will look at things. There are the empty elements that I already kind of talked about a little bit. So there are, when we introduced the HTML elements, I told you that it can just stay on its own. So far, these are what we saw. These are not empty elements. All of them have some inner content. So the div has this whole thing inside. The header has these inside, and so on. So all these elements are not empty elements. They have content, and they cannot be actually empty elements. I mean, they can if you remove the content, but they will still need a closing pair. But there are special elements that are core empty elements, and they don't need a closing pair. They can just sit on their own in the HTML anywhere that you would like to put them. For example, the first one that you could use is actually the line break. So inside of a paragraph, you can put a line break. For example, here we can say that we want to have a break, and then the paragraph is going to be splitted into multiple lines. So the question is, why does this actually need an HTML element? And the reason is that because the line breaks inside of the editor, as you can see, they are not really doing anything with the result. So I can have everything on a different line, and it is still going to be in one line in the HTML. And even if I have multiple spaces, so right now we have this many spaces, it is going to be still in one line and without multiple spaces. The question is why, and the reason is that with spaces and line breaks in the code, you can structure your code, so you can make it look like a little bit of more something that you can see through and understand what's happening. And how to do that is actually it was already Codepen was already doing it a little bit. So you can notice here that I have two spaces here, but generally the idea is that every time you open a tag, so for example here in the div we opened the div, what's inside, what is going to be inside needs to be put a little bit indentated. This is also in Word, you can indent the text and then it will have a little margin, and we will have a little margin by using two spaces. So if you open something, then everything that is going to be inside it will need to have two spaces. You can quickly do that with in basically almost every editor with using the tab key. So you don't have to put the two spaces manually or multiple ones. If you want to, you can use the tab key, and if you want to remove that two spaces or indentation, you can use, or let's just show that you can even do that with multiple lines. So right now the header is in a good place, but for example, because the header is on this line, I need to put the H1 4 spaces from the start. So this is going to be needed to start, instead of starting here, I need to start it here. And you can do it with multiple lines. So if you select multiple lines, like this, and you hit the tab, then both of them are going to be indented a little bit. So the two spaces are going to be placed before them. And I can hit the tab again, and now they are in a good position considering the indentation. And why is this useful? And I will put the indentation for the closing tag as well. It's useful because right now I can see that the header is opened here, and there is nothing else in this line until actually closing the header. So I know where this header tag is going to be closed and what is inside of that. So this is a really good way of helping the programmers to see through the code to understand what going to what contains what. So to be perfectly correct, this main needs to be indented a little bit inner as well because it is inside of the div. The h6 is inside the main, so we need to put that as well. On that level, and this P is also there. Here is another paragraph that should be on a new line, and then the main on the same level as its opening version, and then the div is on basically the first character on the line. So like this, you can easily see through that everything is inside the div, and then in the header there is only these two things, and in the main there is these three things. And we usually put block elements on a new line, and inline elements into the line because they are going to be displayed like that. So this is this is how you should organize a little bit your code, so it is going to be readable or a little bit understandable by you later. So this is how HTML, the basics of HTML looks like. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, so we are, what should we continue with? We talked about the P, we talked about the H1 and the H6, and a little bit of div, that is just a container element, it doesn't do anything, you can put anything inside it. The span is also an inline element that doesn't do anything, so I can modify this strong into a span, and it will not really do anything. It's just displaying the text in line, but it's useful to style it. So now you have something different than strong. You will be able to set styles for it to display it, for example, in red or however you like, or add some background to it or anything. Okay, that's not the most important thing to know. We talked about semantic elements, and basically what's left is white spaces. We talked about the spaces in HTML, and comments, attributes, and these three is what's left from this block. So let's have a 10-minute break, and I will continue at 16:05, and then if you had any questions, I will try to look through the comment section and answer them after the break. But until then, let's have a little refreshment, drink a tea, or look outside of the window and try to calm and anything. Okay, so see you in 10 minutes. So I'm back. Are you back? I hope that you had a little refreshing 10 minutes, and I hope that you find your way back to the computer so we can continue with the nice little HTML and CSS part. Yeah, I can see that many of you have returned in the comments, at least. So I think I will be able to start again because we don't have unlimited time, obviously. So the what's left from the first part is not that many thing, but these three are actually useful for creating lists inside HTML. So just like, again, this is a very good example. Just like in a Word document, you can have bullet points and lists like this, and you can do that in HTML too. And these are the elements in order to create something like that. How they work is basically the UL is the short for unordered list, so it is going to be a bullet pointy list, and the OL is going to be the ordered list, so it is going to be like a numbered list, or you can change the number to characters or something, but it is going to be something that is ordered. And LI is what's going to be in the list item. So basically every item is going to be a list item, and this whole thing is going to be an unordered list or an ordered list element. So let's try that out. At this last part, I will create an unordered list, and you can easily create an opening and closing pair for this unordered list, again with using the tab key in Codepen, and this actually will work in many editors as well, not just in Codepen. So if you type the name of the tag and then after the name of the tag you hit the tab, you will get a nicely opened and closed HTML element, how it should look like, and the cursor is going to be moved into the middle, so you can start typing the content of that element. And I'm going to use this with the LI, or I don't know how to say the list item element. So first item, and then second item, and then LI and tab again for the third item. So this is three list items in the unordered list, and then we can have the same with the ordered list. It is going to look very similar. I will just copy and paste the same thing and change the UL to an OL, and if we look at how it looks like, we can see that it is very similar. It's just have the numbers as the beginning part. So this is a unordered list or ordered list, how you can create them, and you can have as many list items as you want. So if you want to have more, fifth and fourth and fifth, you can have as many as you want, and it is going to be just a longer list then. So this is what the lists and how they work are. That's what's left over, and the attributes is going to be something, and the comments that is left over. So the attribute is something that you can put onto the HTML elements that are not going to be content, but they are going to be some kind of special information about the elements. And usually the attributes are going to go into the opening tag. I'm saying into the opening tag because it is going to be inside or before closing the stock sign. So the attributes are going to be here after a space, and they are usually look like attribute name of the attribute, and then an equal sign, and then the value of the attribute, which can be anything. There are many attributes that you can specify. We will see many during this course, but I'm just showing you this in a general way, because this is also something that is opening the div tag. We didn't change anything. We just added a special extra information. So if you notice something like this, you can know that it is still the same div tag as before. It is just there is something extra specified with that division tag, and it can go to any HTML elements. So you can have attributes on any opening tag, but just on the opening. So if you have a closing version, there you can't really have attributes there. So on the opening you can have something like this. This is still a simple opening. We will have more examples, so you will be able to see it after the whole thing. But I just wanted to mention that if you see something like this, this is also a perfectly normal opening for an HTML tag. And the comments is the last thing. Comments are usually for developers to make notes or some things that they can express themselves around the code. The comments are not going to be understood by the browser, so they are not going to be displayed. They are not going to be visible in the preview, and they are actually useful for in the learning phase. They are very useful for you to take notes. So, for example, we can create a text here that the div is just a simple container element, and this is something that we don't want to display. Actually, we just make a note for ourselves, so we can create a comment for ourselves. So it is not going to be displayed in the preview. It is just going to be in the code, and we can look at the div below it. So how to do it? There is a $, again, and exclamation point, and two dashes. And as you can see, I opened this. This is the opening part of the comment section. Now everything is grayed out. So until I close the comment section, it is going to be considered as a comment. So right now everything is a comment because I never close it. So let's close it. And this is the closing part. So if you want to have any kind of note inside of the HTML, you can have this to remind you that here the header is also just a container element with a different name. And we can also have this in a comment. It is very easy to put something into a comment by using a shortcut. I think you can look at the keys here if you really want to. You don't see it probably. So I will pull up my window. So here there is a keys, and there are a couple of things that you can use. This is for Mac, obviously, but you can, if you use Windows, there are going to be different shortcuts. So, for example, I used the tabbed, but I don't see it. Just this, but. But what you can do is use the comment shortcut, and it will comment out the line that you are on. So for the Mac users, it is comment and the slash. I think on Windows it is the Control key and the slash, but you can try it out or look at what is listed for you. If you use Windows, you will have a different list there. So with that, I can easily make this whole line a comment, and then I don't have to type or know how many dashes I have to put. It is 2, but yeah. So at first, it is very helpful to not. If you don't remember exactly the things, you can always look at the keys here and then find the comment and then use that if you want to. So these are the comments, and they are good for making notes later on. Of course, they will be used for different purposes, mostly for description of what the code is doing. So basically, it is also kind of notes for developers. Okay, so this is comments and attributes, and everything was there. Okay, so second part. Second part, we will talk about a couple of more elements that is called forms, or related to forms, because so far this is very nice, but usually a website contains something that is going to be a form, because you have a login form or a registration form or something like that. So usually you want to include things like that in your website. So something where the user can actually type in some inputs for you. And for that, there are these form-related elements, and we'll just get through the very basics of them. But they can be used in various ways. So they can be combined very nicely. So let's create a form here. Let's put it at the top so you will be able to see it. I will create a form by typing form and then hitting the tab key. So I will have this nice little form here. And as you can see that when I created this form, the Codepen actually created an attribute for the opening tag of the form. This is because usually a form is going to have an action attribute. The action is going to be the thing, the place where you want to send the input that the user provides in the form. But so far we were not going to use it. We're just going to display it, and the form is not going to actually send the data anywhere that the user types in. We will be able to learn about a little bit next week, but right now we don't need the action for the form, so we can remove it. And basically inside of the form, the form-related elements can come, but not just the form-related elements. So if I want to, I can have headers here as well. Please log in. So you can have any other elements in the form as we already checked. So you can have headers, paragraphs, or divs, or mains, or lists even. So you can have anything that you would like to have. But the interesting part in the form is going to be the form related elements, and the first one that is probably the most important one is the input element. The input element is an empty element, so it doesn't have a closing pair. It won't have a content because the user will be able to put content into the input. And as you can see, that the input has also an attribute that is generated with Codepen. You can get rid of that. This is the default value for this attribute, but usually you will need to change that, so we can actually leave it there. What this means is that this is going to be a text input. So it is going to be something where the user can type text or type anything that the user would like. So this is basically an input, text input field. And you can change this to many things. I mean the input type. So for example, you can have a password type for passwords. And then the difference is going to be that you are not going to be able to see what the user is typing. So right now I'm typing my very super secret password, and you are just only seeing dots in the input that is displayed in the preview. So this is the password type of input, and then there is the last thing that I think worth mentioning for a type is that it is called email. It's really cool because then if we actually want to click on a button for this form to send it, the browser is going to actually check if there is an email address like thing typed into this field, and if not, then it will pop something up. So let's create a button to actually try that out. So that's the next thing that we will need for the form, a button. And a button is not going to be an empty element. The button will have a content, and the content of the button is going to be basically what's on the button, as you would assume probably. So this is going to be, let's say, login. And then I have this nice little input field, and next to it I have a login button. If you notice that these are in one line, so the input is actually an inline element, not a block element. So if you want to make them into separate lines, you can use the break element, or you can put them into other container elements that are blocking elements, and then they will be on separate lines. But right now it's very nice like this. So we can actually try out. So let's say Adam.Julavari, and if I'm going to click on login, I will have a nice little notification by the browser, because I specified that this is an input, an email type of input. The browser knows that there should be an email inside provided by the user. So if I'm not able to go anywhere with this form until I actually provide a normal user, I don't recommend trying out, but you will also try. Well, probably you will try out what happens if you have an actual email address here. So I will try it, academy.com, because we haven't specified anything where the form should be sent. We remove the action from here. Adam that well, green.fox. Because we didn't specify anything in here, we remove the action. It is going to send it in a very weird place. So it is going to have something like this as a bed path. And now we don't have our editor, but you can get back the editor if you refresh the page. So you can just do that, and everything is going to go back to normal, hopefully. Okay, so this is the input, and because usually you want to provide a little bit of information for the user, what should be typed in here. Like the user is only going to see this, and if we don't see the HTML code, we don't really know what to type in. Right now we know we should type in an email, but the user won't be able to tell by just looking here that it should be an email that he needs to type in. It may be a username or a password or even anything. So basically we need to provide some information of what the user should type in. You can use the label tag for that, or any other tag actually. For example, a paragraph, and type in your email address. So you can type, or you can have a paragraph to make it understandable, so the user knows what to do with this input field. But there is a special HTML tag for that is called label, and it is good for a very specific reason. So I will rewrite this to label. The first thing is that you can notice that this is also inline, just like the input. So they are not going to be block elements, and it is also not just inline, but we can actually connect the label and the input together. In order to do that, we need to set an identifier for this input. So that is going to be an attribute on the input. I will say that this is an ID email. This is an identifier attribute. ID, any HTML element can have an ID. The only thing that needs to be remembered about IDs, that you can't use two IDs, the same IDs on two elements. So if I used email here, then for example, this can't have email as an ID as well. So this is not good. This has to be something else. It can be title, but because there is no title ID otherwise on the page. But if I have one title, for example, this one can't be ID title. It can be ID title 2 or title 2 or other title, but it has to be something different. So all IDs has to be different. You don't have to specify an ID, so that's not like something that you need to do. But if you do it, or if you have it, then you have to have different ones on different elements. So why is it useful that we have an ID email for this input field? Because now we can use that to connect the two things, and in the label we can have a for attribute. So it is going to be a label for equals sign email, and now these two things are what is connecting the label and the input together. So the input has an ID, and a label is for an ID, the ID'd input field. And why is this useful? It's useful because if you click on the ID, the label now, So here on type in your email address, what you will see is that I get a cursor in the input field. So I don't need to just click here, or I can to start typing, but I can also click on the label, and I can also start typing without clicking anywhere else. So this is usually a convenient way to provide the user a good experience. Hashtag GDPR, yeah. My email addresses were visible for a moment. Okay. There are other form elements. For example, the text area is something that you can use for multiple lines of text. So I will have a text area here, text area. And it is a multi-line thing, and it can have a content. So it is going to be wow, very nice generated thing. Actually, we don't need the name and the ID for the text area right now, but you can see that there is a multi-line text editor here, and I can have multiple lines in it. So this is something that you can also use. Probably you already seen these on websites, and it has a content, so you can easily set some default content inside of the text area, and it will be displayed when it is loaded. So this is why it has a content. Okay, but I don't need the content actually here right now. So that's the text area, and the fields. Then the legend is basically just grouping together input elements. So, for example, if we have let's say this one, I will copy it. Actually, I will copy these two lines and have it multiple ways, and this is going to be text, and type in your username, and this is going to be username, and this is going to be this is going to be text, and this is going to be for the username. Oops, sorry. Username. So the for is for the ID, the input type is text, and here we want to have a password, let's say, for the sake of presentation. So it is going to be a password type field, and it is going to be a password, and the ID is going to be password too. So now I can click through anything and get the right inputs highlighted, and the cursor moved to. And basically you can group these things together with a field set tag. So I will just copy the closing tag and put it here. A little bit of organizing, and what it does is it puts a little border around these things. It doesn't change anything, and you can use the legend in the field set. The legend is going to be something that is the basically the title of this form set. So I will put it into the top, legend, and you can say that registration for example, and this is going to be there in this way to be organized. Obviously, you can style it differently, but this is how it looks like by default. So these are things that you can use. You don't have to use all of them. And in the exercises, you will have, again, descriptions for this. So if you don't remember anything, you can always use the internet to look up things. And actually, there is a very good documentation, which is also linked in the exercises. So here, there is a material section at the bottom. After the exercises, you will be able to check how basically everything that I talked about in a written format. So the opening tag, the closing tag, the content, and this whole thing is the element, attributes, nesting elements, empty elements. So this is kind of an official documentation for HTML, and you will be able to find everything that I talked, or most things that I talked about, and even more. And this page is going to contain a lot of useful things if you want to get more reading materials, for example. So these are things that you can always look up on the internet. These are not something that you have to remember. Every programmer is working with an internet connection. So if you don't remember, if you just remember that, okay, there was this thing that we could do with the form around, so just try to look for it. So for example, border form HTML, and then probably you will get some kind of results that are related, and then you can remember, oh, there are field set, that was the thing that was used for this. Or you can just find something to read it, and you will be able to find it easily. Okay, so this is very nice, but let's try to create a little bit of styling, because right now everything is basically the default styled. So nothing is too beautiful, to say the very least. And in order to do that, we can use CSS. So let's move on to this part of the thing. And the good thing that it is going to be a little bit simpler. So it doesn't have that much rules to follow. Generally, a CSS thing, or it is going to be a CSS rule set. It is a rule set because it can have multiple rules, but it can be called a simple CSS rule as well, if you would like. So this is how it's going to look like. You will have a selector. A selector is going to be something where you specify, okay, I want to style things, and these are the things that I want to style. We will talk about what a selector will actually look like in a moment. And then these curly braces. And then inside of the curly braces, you will have the rules that need to be applied for the selected things. So, for example, I want to say that every h1 tag, so this one and this one should have background that is red. This is a rule, CSS rule, and if we look at the preview, you will see that both of the H1s are now actually have red background. You can have multiple rules. The only thing that you need to remember is that you have a name of property. This is called the property. And then a value for that property, and then a semicolon. And here is a colon, actually. So this is basically how CSS rule is going to look like, and you can specify multiple things in one rule set. So if I want to have the H1 to have background, and I want to have also the color of the font not to be black, I can say that the color should be white. Then both of these rules are going to be applied for the H1. But I actually, and then after that, I can have another rule set just like this. So selector again, let's say that the form should have a background that is purple. And then this whole thing that is the form is going to be purple. This looks beautiful. So, but yeah. Okay. So this is one way to select elements by saying the name of a tag. So this is totally okay. And so far we have used a lot of tags, so we have things to pick from. But usually you will have multiple elements of the same tag. For example, here we have 3 list items. Here we have another 5 list items. They are all the same. So if I say that all the list items should have, let's say, background that is blue, what we will see that all of the list items are going to have blue background. But what if I just want to have a couple of them? So not all of the items should have the blue background, just a selected couple. Then you can use CSS classes, and that's usually also very common. And in order to create a CSS class, you can use an attribute in HTML. So let's say that this is going to have a class. It's an attribute, so equals sign and quotation marks. And inside of the double quotation marks, you will have you can say a class name. It can be anything. So for example, let's say that this is blue background. So we have created a blue background CSS class. And now the only thing that we need to do is to select it. So instead of selecting all the list item elements, we can say that we want to select only the blue background classed elements. And if I say blue background here, this is not going to be good, because this way I'm still selecting for HTML tags, actually for the blue background HTML tags, but I don't have any tag like that. I have list items, I have URLs, I have mains and stuff like that. So in order to select a CSS class, I have to use a special key at the beginning of the selector, and that is going to be the dot. So if I say that dot, then I can say a name of any class that I created inside of my HTML. And if I go down, I can see that only the third item that has the blue background class is now actually having the blue background. So this is how you can select CSS classes. And one other thing that is handy with the general information about CSS rules is that so this part is the selector again, what we want to apply the rule set on, and this is the rule set or the summary of the rules. And you can actually apply these rules on multiple things, so you can select multiple things. For example, we can say that the blue background is going to be with blue background. That was very intelligent, but whatever. And with an actual comma, you can have another selector here. So now I can say that, for example, the OL element should have a blue background, and now this whole thing is blue. So this is perfectly fine. You can have as many as you want, another class, and so on and so forth, if you want to have blue backgrounds for multiple things. So okay, we can see that we have a bunch of beautiful colors. I saw a question in the comments that can you have stream went off. Now it should be better. I hope. Okay, so it's back. Okay. I see that most people got back. Okay, welcome back. Great. So we will have a break in a couple minutes, but until then, I was talking about that there was a question. There was a question in the comments that can you use colors different than the names of the colors? And of course you can, because there is basically 2 million colors that the computer screen can display, or even more. Not all of them will have an actual name like red or purple. And one of the most common ways to display colors in HTML and in CSS is to use a hex but I can. It works on my machine. I'm trying to see or check what's wrong, but in my computer everything seems to be working right now. So you might want to refresh Frozen 2. Some of you say that it is okay. Some of you say that it is frozen, but I hope that it is okay for most of you. So if you refresh in these cases, that usually helps. Okay. So again, you can use colors with a with a hash mark sign, starting with a hash and then 6 numbers, and the 6 numbers are going to the 6 numbers are going to be the first 2 is going to be the amount of reds in the color, the second 2 is going to be the amount of greens in the color, and the third one is going to be the amount of blues in the color. If you think about the first letters of the colors, then you will be able to figure out what this means. So this is RGB color code basically for a color. So this is a black because we are not using any reds or any greens or any blues. And if we use all of them or many of them, we will have a different color. For example, let's say add a little bit of red, then we will have a dark red. If we add a little bit of blue as well, then we will have a nice purple. And if I add greens as well, then we will have gray that is because we have the same amount of all the elements. And this is basically not the maximum number, because this is actually a hexadecimal number. So there are not numbers from 0 to 9 that you can use here, but numbers from 0 to 9 and A to F. So you can even use A and F in these situations. So this is going to be actually the perfect red with the maximum amount of red. So this is the equivalent of the red color. And obviously, if you say 0, 0, F, F, then this is going to be the equivalent of the green, and this is the blue. I mean, not the green, because it is called lime in HTML. I mean, in CSS, but yeah, whatever. Okay, so this is also how you can display colors. And selecting multiple elements, different type of selectors, anatomy of the CSS rule set. I talked about basically everything. So what's left is the third part and the fourth part, and now we can have a break again. So let's continue in 10 minutes, or maybe a little bit more. So let's say 13 minutes. So 17:05. Oops. Break until 17:05. Okay. And then we will get back to it. Hello again. Welcome back. I hope that you are here again after a nice little break. I'm here already, and I will talk a little bit. Maybe there are a few of you who haven't finished the tea or the coffee or anything. So everybody's arriving nice and calmly back to the computer, back to the material review, and we will continue with the third part. And yeah, there are many of you here already. Cool. So as I was checking, there were only a couple of questions about how to autocomplete this the code and the elements. I will just repeat that for those who missed it. If you type the name of the HTML tag, let's say H5, then hitting the tab key, you will get this little thing with the opening and the closing tag. And what else was there? So typing the name and then a tab key that is below the 0 usually, on most keyboards at least. And then what else was there? You can create comments with the control or command and the slash key combination. So like this. So it is control plus this slash is the comments, and that actually works in CSS as well. So you can have comments in CSS too if you want to make a note. For example, any color after hash sign, and then red, then green, and then blue, and then put it into a comment like that. So this is how you can create comments in CSS with a slash sign and then asterisk, and then end it with the same, just in a reversed order. So this is how you can put any notes into the CSS that you want to remember as well. And the Codepen, what I'm doing here is in the description below the video, I mean the stream, and you can follow this during while I'm doing it if you are able to, but you don't have to. The main purpose of this that I am showing you most of the things that you can do. So these are the possibilities, and you don't have to remember all of them. You just have to remember the concept that what are we doing. You are able to create HTML here. You can use many kind of HTML elements and tags, and here we are going to style it with a couple of CSS rules, and this is how you can construct CSS rules. I'm going to show you the possibilities, and in the exercises you will be able to practice them on your own, and then you will have time to find the actual characters, special characters. Where are those on your machine? How you can actually type them. So don't worry if you can't type that fast right now. That how I am typing. This is not really an exercise to follow. You can follow it if you want to and if you can, but that's not really needed. And also you will be able to rewatch this later if you want, and pause it anytime you want, if you want to actually do this next to me, you can do it later when it is only a video, and you can stop it anytime. And you can continue after you found the character that you were looking for, or typed in what you wanted to type in. So yeah, right now it is perfectly fine just to watch and try to understand what I'm talking about. And if something is not clear, I will try to clear it up. So we talked about basics of HTML, different elements, how you can nest into elements, and block versus inline elements. Spaces are not displayed from HTML. They are just used for style the structure of the code, and that is true for the CSS part as well. And we talked about forms and how basic CSS rules are going to work. And now we are going to get a little bit more detail in CSS. And the first thing that we will need to cover is probably how to separate elements from each other. Right now, we have a basic structure here, and here everything is just connecting to each other. But I've removed the purple background from the form because that's really bothering me. So sometimes you want to have more distance between elements, and you want to have like a bigger blue background over this this text or line. So this is what was that? Please log in. Please log in. So you want to have a little bit more distance, or even a little less distance between two elements. You can do that with CSS using a couple of special properties, because these are called properties, and these are the values for those properties. So, for example, if we have this H1 here, we can create a special rule for that. Obviously, we can type it here into the H1, but then it will be applied for all the H1 elements in the current document. But I just want to style this one. We already saw that we can use a class for that, so I can say that there is going to be a class attribute on this and say that special it is going to be a special H1, but you don't have to style the classes. You can also style things that have IDs, and this H1 already has an ID, so I can use the ID as a selector in CSS. For that, you need to use again a special character. With the dot, we are selecting CSS classes, and for selecting an ID in the HTML document, you can use the hash mark again. If you use it here, then it is going to be an identifier of that this is going to be an ID. So if I say title here, then I actually selected this HTML element to style. So if I say that I'm going to change something in this, for example, the color to red, then the color of this header is changed to red, but the other H1 that has the blue background won't change to red. But this is not what I'm going to change. What I'm going to change is the margin, for example. And for the margin, you know what the margin is probably. You could play around with margins in Word documents as well. They work the same. They separate elements from each other. So if I say that there is going to be a margin on this element, it will have a distance from all the other elements there are in the document. So for example, this is going to have a number value. So I will have to type some numeric value here. And in order to make it valid, you need to use a unit next to the value. So for example, pixels, and then close the rule with a semicolon. And as you can see, the margin made this header, each one element, 50 pixels from everything else that it's surrounding it. So from the top, from the left side, from the right side, and from the bottom, which are the next elements actually. So this is what the margin can do. The margin can separate the elements from the other elements, or the container of the element. And the other thing that we can set similar to this is what's called the padding. And the padding is going to be very similar, but a little bit different. So I would say 30 pixel padding. And what you can see is that it is also separating things. It just separates the content inside the element from the side of the box that is the actual element. So this whole blue thing is right now the H1, and that is going to be 50 pixels from everything else, and from the side of this H1, anything that's inside. Right now this is just this text, but if we would have multiple elements in it, then every element would be 30 pixels from the side of the H1 element. So this is the padding. You can also remember them as the margin is kind of the invisible thing, and the padding will have the background of the element, because the padding is basically expanding the content a little bit. And the third one that is here is basically the border, and I will put it into in between. In order to set a border, now we don't have a valid CSS, that's why we don't see the padding, but I will make it work again in a moment. But in order to set a border, you have to set multiple things. The border has, again, a numeric value that is going to be the width of the border, so let's say 5 pixel. But it also has a style, and it also has a color, because borders usually have colors. So I will say that this is a solid border, which means a continuous line, and let's say black. And now what we will see is that the whole thing again got working. So we see the 50 pixels margin, and then we see the 5 pixels border, and then we see the 30 pixel padding. This is in this order is what's called the box model, and this is why I wanted to put them in this order, because these are basically adding up together the whole size of this box. So margin is invisible, distance between other elements. The border is going to be around the box as a border, as it's supposed to be, and the padding is going to be the distance basically from the border of the box, the distance between the border of the box and the content inside of the HTML element. So this is how these are part of all elements. You can have margin on anything, you can have padding for anything, and you can space them using these CSS properties. Yeah. So the padding is the inner, very inner layer of this situation. The border is in between the margin and the padding, and the outer thing is the margin. You can also you can also specify the actual width and height of the content. So, and this is why it is related here. So you can say that the height, which is the tallness of this box, is need to be 100 pixels. You can perfectly do that, and what you will see is that this is now a 100 pixel tall blue box, and on top of that there is 30 pixels padding, and on top of that there is 5 pixels border, and on top of that there is 50 pixel margin, in that order. And this is what is going to be the box model. Actually, there is a developer tools inside mostly every browser. I'm using Chrome, so you should be you can use different browsers, but I recommend Google Chrome because that is a very stable, very fast, and very correct browser. And if you start working with HTML and CSS, that is probably a good thing to try. But every other browser is going to have the similar thing. But you can actually use developer tools in Google Chrome. And how to do that is basically right-clicking on any element in your HTML, and there is going to be an inspect menu item or something like that. And if you open it up, what you will get, maybe not in a different window, I just opened it in a different window, so it is a little bit more big and visible. You will see the actual HTML code of the whole page, which is not really important right now. What's important right now is that this little this little thing here at the top, the bottom right corner, because it's a little bit more visible or visual interpretation of the margin and the border and the padding. So if I hover on the margin, you can see that it is highlighted with this orange color or orangish color. So this is the margin of this box that is right now 50 pixels, and we set it to 50 pixels. And there is the border that is now highlighted with this yellowish color that is 5 pixels, and then comes the padding that is this big, and then the content is actually this big. So this is the whole size of the HTML element, and you can check this out on your machine as well. But we don't really need to, or you don't really need to at the beginning. We will learn about the developer tools later, but yeah, you can try it if you want. But this is the main idea, that we have multiple surrounding parts of the HTML elements, and all of them together are going to be the size, basically. So even though I set the height of this element to be 100, if you look at it, the whole thing that it will take up, how much space it will take up, it is going to be a lot more. So it is going to have in height 100 more because of the margin, 5 more because of the border, and 30 more because of the padding. So this is the box model. What I wanted to show you, how it works. And obviously you can set the width of any box just like that, width 200 pixels. And with that you can specify how big should be the box on the horizontal scale. But yeah, this is and again, just like with the height, this is just the width of the content. Actually, on top of that, there is going to be the 30 pixels padding, border, and margin as well. Okay, we talked about the background already and the color. You can set the colors and the backgrounds just like that. But you can also modify the font of any HTML element or any type text on the screen. In order to do that, you can use basically any kind of or to change the appearance of the text. You can use the properties that are starting with a font and a dash. So for example, if you want to set the size of the font, you can set the font size like this, and there are going to be many other font dashed properties that you can try out and use. And you can also look at the list in any documentation if you are curious about them. But for now, I'm just going to show you two: the font size and one other. But in Codepen, you can actually have a list of recommendations or list of options if you use the control and the space. I will put it here. Control and space. Or on Mac, I think it's Command and space. And if you hit Control and space after the font and the dash, you will get the list of possibilities that you can set with this. That's starting with the font actually. So there are a lot of things that you can change in the font appearance. But what we are going to change at first is going to be the size. So if I say that the font size should be very, very small, like 5 pixels, then it is going to be a very, very small font size, and we can set it to a very, very big one, and you can play around with font sizes anyhow. Let's try to use, let's say, 36 pixels. I think that's the default probably, or something around that. So this is how you can change how big the text should be in a specific element. And the other thing that I want to show you is how to change the actual font that is displaying, because usually you see that this is the default font probably in every browser. This is Times New Roman. This is not very bad. It is just I don't think that it is very nice. And if you change the font to anything that is not the Times New Roman font, it makes it way more beautiful, and just by changing the font. So this is what we are going to do. There are many ways how to change the font. But the most important part is that you can only use fonts that your computer will be able to display. So you can use the fonts that are installed on your computer, like what you can select in the Word document as well. Or you can use certain categories in the fonts. So you are not actually specifying a specific font name, but you are saying some kind of category name, and the browser will try to get a font that is matching that category. For example, the font family is going to be what needs to be changed in this case. This is how you can specify a font. And if you want to use something that is this kind of font, so it has these little, I don't know, caps or something. It is called serif. This is basically the Times New Roman is going to be again, but you can say that you want a different one that is sans serif, which is without these caps, and then it is going to be a plain and simple font that is displayed. And you can also have, I don't know, cursive, for example, that is some kind of written text-ish type of font, and there are a lot of others. But you can also use any font that is on your machine, which is not very convenient, because if you use a font that is on your machine, that is going to be displayed only on your machine or any other machines that are having the same font. So the better way to use a font is to use a font that is available on the internet. So we will load a font from the internet instead of from our machine. And there are lots of fonts available, free to use on the internet. Yeah, this is the part where we will have a lot of Comic Sans comments. And how to find one of those is there is a fonts.google.com website. This is going to be in the again in the exercises. So this is the link to this site is going to be in the exercises again when you will get there, but it is just fonts.google.com. If you have a different view than me, that's perfectly fine. 1 week ago they changed the design of Google Fonts, actually just when we started the last stay-at-home camp, so it was really fun. But yeah, so if you have a different view, then here should be a button to check out the old version or the classic version, and this is the new version. So it is almost the same, but it's just a little bit different. So probably you will see this, and then you can pick any font that you like. For example, this Lotto is a very nice font. And then there are even more options, what you want to use, how bold you want the font to be. And let's say we want to use this regular type of thing, or a regular type of font. So you can select this font. And if you selected it, then basically what you can do with it, you can download it, but we don't need to download it. We just want to use it. And for that, there is this embedded tab, and there is some HTML and some CSS code that you can use. The HTML part is you can see it is a tag opening. There is the name of the tag. There is a attribute name and the value, another attribute name and the value. So this is an HTML tag. The only question is where to put it, and it actually says that you have to put it in your head of your HTML. Because we are using Codepen, it is not going to be in the editor, but it is going to be in the settings. So you just need to copy this code and go back to your Codepen, and there is going to be the settings on the HTML, and there is the stuff for head. This is where you can put inside the stuff that you copied, and then you can save and close this. So here is the settings, and then you can put it into the stuff for the head. And now we just need to copy the CSS part, which is this. You can see it starts with font family, just like we used it. And we can copy it here and replace it like that. And now we have that font, which is very, very beautiful. it would be it would be better if we have this font on all of the items, and you can do that easily if you know that everything is inside of one HTML element. For example, we can remember that this div contains everything from below, and then the form is containing everything that is inside the form. So basically everything for us in the form and the div. So I will create a new CSS rule. I'm selecting the form and I'm selecting the divs, and I will put this font family inside there. And now everything will have this font, which is kind of nice and makes it a little bit nicer look. So this is the font family, and there are many other things that you can change, like the style of the font, if you want to have italic fonts, or the weight of the font if you want to have bold fonts, and you can try out many of them, or anything, but it is just a convenient way to do that. Okay. So we added Google Fonts to our Codepen, and we talked about all the core properties that we need. And basically this is what you will kind of use tomorrow in the exercises. So nothing is going to be other than this. If you understand what I did here and there, and just by looking at this example, you will be able to probably solve most of the exercises. These are very similar things that we will create tomorrow. We will create a very, very simple boxes like this, and then simple forms, and basic using the basic elements every here and there. So this is what the exercises are going to be about. So I will look at the comments if there is anything to answer. No. Okay. Yeah. So this is something that we will use. The Codepen is what we will use at the beginning. But of course, if you're already familiar with the basics of HTML and how to do that on your machine, that is perfectly fine to use your editor if you already have one. But for the first week, you can use Codepen for the exercises, and it is very, very convenient. But other than that, after that, so on the next week, we are going to actually learn how to put this into our machine, and how to create HTML files and CSS files, and how to use the editor. Actually, that is going to be the first topic on the next week, and we will try to put it on the web. So for now, we are just trying to get the basics of HTML and CSS without having to struggle with file creation and stuff like that. This is basically created for us. We will need a little HTML and then little CSS to put together, and then we can do the exercises. And then that's probably it. Okay, I think I talked about everything. So let's do. Okay, I will start the fourth part then, and then maybe we will be able to finish earlier. So everything that I will talk about right now, I know that there is going to be so the information that I'm going to show is going to be available for you. So everything that I'm showing, we are going to send you out. So this website is going to be sent out. Again, this is where you will be able to find everything, and the Discord invitation is going to be sent out as well. So the first thing that I want to show you is that here this is going to be what I already showed you, the weekly schedule, and on this site you will be able to find the exercises for tomorrow and for the rest of the days of the course. And here is tomorrow is going to be the Tuesday workshop on the week 1. So related to this material, you will find exercises in this on this link, and this is how it is going to be structured. So if you need help, you can discuss anything in your study group. There are always helping materials, overall helping materials for the topic. And for each of the exercises, there is going to be a specific helping page where you can ask questions or see previous questions, and maybe they are already answered the questions that you wanted to ask. So this is going to be how the exercise list is going to look like. This is the 8 exercises you will have to follow tomorrow. You don't have to do it now, just tomorrow we will start it at 3 o'clock. And I just want to show you how to navigate through this whole thing. So this is the first exercise. You can click on it, and here is going to be the question page for this exercise. I will get back to that later, but here you will get very detailed explanations on what you will need to do. You need to sign up on Codepen if you haven't already, or sign into, and then you need to open this Codepen, hit the fork button so you can make an own version of the Codepen, and you will be able to save that one. You won't be able to edit mine, which is this one, but the point is that you will have a basic structure to begin with, and you will need to just modify the code a little bit. So you won't even have to create new code. You just have to modify, play around with it at first, and then change the background, modify other backgrounds, change the border color, and so on and so forth. And there is always going to be, or not always, but most of the time there is going to be a solution at the end. I only recommend checking the solution if you are done with the exercise. So if you solve the exercise and you want to check if your solution is different than mine, it is perfectly fine if it is different, because there are many solutions for the same exercises. So it's perfectly fine if yours is different, but if you want to look at another solution, and maybe get some ideas how to solve it differently, then you can check it. But at first, I would recommend to try to solve it on your own. There are easy exercises at the beginning. For example, creating headers and then styling them a little bit, just to feel the differences between the margins and paddings. And then there are going to be a little bit more complicated exercises. And with the more complicated exercises, we created an overview. So if you want to, you can try to do the exercise without any help by just looking at the picture and try to recreate this. Or you can follow the step-by-step version, which is going to be starting with how to set up the HTML. It is going to be a very basic written information about that's needed for the exercise that I already talked about. So you will have the idea what to use and where, and then at the end you will be able to finish everything just like we did before. The thing is that I actually created before the images. So this, for example, for the fonts .google.com, it is using the old version of the page, but you can switch back and forth the old version and the new version of Google Fonts at the top, the return to classic site, if you want to have the same view as in the example. It is going to be basically what we created example of there. And then there are going to be more exercises about forms, but the point is that you don't have to solve all of the exercises. I think many of you will, but this is not a bad thing if you can't do all of them. Obviously, this is a new thing for all of you, and learning is always hard. So it is better if it's hard and if it's slow, and you are figuring out the things on your own, instead of looking at solutions or asking for solutions from other students. Usually, if you figure something out on your own, then it is going to be a very good learning process. There is actually the video that Toyash created that is listed on the website here. He also talks about how hard should be the learning process. So it is going to be it's good when it's hard. That's the main idea. If it's easy, then it's then you are probably not learning. You are probably just reusing something that you already know. So don't be afraid that if it feels overwhelming and you don't know anything. It's just try out things, try typing, try anything, and if you make a mistake, that's perfectly okay. You can always restart the whole thing. You can delete the whole thing. If you accidentally deleted the whole thing, then you can use Ctrl Z on Windows or Command Z on Mac to do the undo. As in usual softwares, there is an undo. But so it's perfectly fine to make mistakes. Sometimes you miss closing sign somewhere, and then it will break the whole thing, and it's hard to spot at the beginning that there is a missing closing curly bracket here. So this is something that at the beginning you will have to get used to, but it will get better in time, and then we will get to the more advanced parts of HTML and CSS. So we are at the final part. I see that people are already saying goodbye. When okay, but so let's have a 10-minute break, and then we will have a final little session. I will show this page, and so where you can find questions to the exercise, and I will summarize this whole thing, and maybe if there is a question that I need to answer on the chat, I will try to answer them. So probably we will finish earlier than 7, so you can have dinner earlier, which is good. So yes, I will answer the Discord related questions, obviously. So you will know everything, hopefully, how to start tomorrow. So let's have a 10-minute break, and then we will continue with the final session that is not going to be an hour. Break until 01. So, hi and welcome back. I hope that everybody could manage to get back to the computer and we can continue with the final round, which is not going to be that long. I can see that there are a few people here already. Not a few, a lot. All right. So probably you managed to get back here. As I checked the comments, there were a few questions about what will happen tomorrow and what do you need to do until tomorrow and stuff like that. This is exactly what I'm going to talk about right now. So what you will need to do until tomorrow is basically nothing. You don't have any homework. You don't have to do anything other than looking at maybe this video. If you haven't watched this on this site, you can watch this. This is a 20-minute long video where we talk about what is going to happen during this course. And if you have any questions, maybe it is worth looking over the frequently asked questions here, or if you're not sure about something. And what else you can do is check out this Codepen that I created and play around with things if you want, change things if you want to feel more comfortable, or rewatch the video, rewatch this whole or parts of this whole material if something was not sure, or you are not sure about things that I created. You can rewatch this, but you don't have to do the exercises that I showed you. So the exercises that are here on this page are for tomorrow. So as you can see here, this is the Monday workshop. I mean the Monday YouTube stream material. This is the thing for today. This was your job, to go through with all these elements with me and try to understand as much as possible. And tomorrow on the workshop we are going to do the exercises together with all the students. So the exercises are for tomorrow. This is not a homework. This is the exercise list for tomorrow. And until then, you can just get prepared by watching at this video, or checking out questions if you have, or rewatching this video or parts of this video, or trying out this Codepen. This is this is what we can what I can say. So this and what will happen tomorrow is that before the start, so tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we are going to start the workshop. The exercise list are going to be here, and until that point you are going to probably be on Discord as well. So you will be able to get the exercise list on Discord as well, because we will send it on Discord too. And for Discord, the invitation, you will receive it tomorrow in an email. So we will send out the invitations for Discord tomorrow, and you can check your inbox during the day, and you will be getting an email with the Discord invitation link, and then you will be able to join the Discord server that we are using. But until then, you can actually download Discord, and we will update this page where you can download it with that information. So, but it is Discord if you search for Discord on Google, you will be able to find it pretty easily, and you will be able to download it. And it is worth to create an account with Discord as well, so you won't be losing your messages. You can reread your messages and stuff like that. So you can download it and create an account. When you download it, it will get you an account creation page as well. And but again, this is also, we created a video about that as well. We will put that video here on this page, so you will find everything that is really important here. The only thing that we will send out in email is the Discord invitation, because that we don't want to put it on a website. So that is just for those who are participating. And if you want to be together with one person, make sure that you try to open the Discord invitation link at the same time, because during the day it doesn't have to happen at 3 o'clock. If you open them at the same time, then you will be probably in the same group. But if you want to switch groups, we will be able to move you between groups. But if everybody wants to move in a group, then I'm not sure what we are going to be able to do, but I will try to manage everything that happens tomorrow. So we will put every information here on this site. You will receive the Discord invitation link tomorrow in an email. And you need to start working on the exercises tomorrow on the workshop together with the group. If you want to, you can obviously start the exercises sooner, or you can start it later. The exercises are going to be available 24/7, so it is not going to be offline. The video of this material review as a recording is going to be available 24/7, so you can rewatch it anytime. And basically you can go and continue with the course even in your own pace, but we are going to give you a little structure in what we imagined. And so far, for the first week's experience, we found that it is mostly working for most of the people. So it is somewhat good pace or good speed. So this is what you will need to and don't need to do. Okay, so just a quick summary. Tomorrow you will receive the exercises. Tomorrow you will receive the Discord invitation, and tomorrow you will need to do the exercises, not today. What you can do today is watch what's here or read what's here, and maybe download Discord if you need, if you want to. But you can do that also tomorrow. And it works even without downloading. So if you don't want to download anything, it works that way as well, from the browser, in that sense. Okay. And how can we rewatch the video? After I finish the stream on this link, you will be able to rewatch the video. So you don't even have to move around. Probably it will take a couple minutes to process the video. But after, I don't know, half an hour or an hour, it will be available in full on the same link. So if you go here, on this link, you will be able to watch the video again. And there is nothing going to be presented tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to just work on the exercises, and I will communicate with you on Discord in text. And basically that's it. You can watch okay, yeah, that's something that I missed. So you can watch, you will be able to watch a video about Discord, how it works, that we created, and again, that is going to be here as well. So this is basically the most important thing, but we already sent this out for you. So you will find everything here. If it's not here, then you don't need it. And the only extra thing other than this that we are going to send out is the Discord invitation. So check this site regularly. We will update it soon. And about the questions for the exercise and where you can find answers. So I'm still in depth with this one. I didn't get back to this. So this is an exercise, and the top of the exercises page, you will find these questions to this exercise. And if you click on this link, you will find a site where we are collecting the questions. So this is a question to this particular exercise, and it has 2 answers already. So 2 of our mentors already answered this question, but there are a lot of questions, and you can ask your question anytime if you stuck. But at first, I think it's easy. It's better to talk about in the group, just as the exercise actually suggests. So if you don't find a solution in the group, you can post it here, and our mentors are going to answer the question. You can ask a question with this button, and you can fill out the title, like I'm stuck with something, and in the details you can get you can provide details of what are you stuck with, and you can even link the Codepen that you are working with. So it's very easy for us to help you. If you put the link of your Codepen, you can just copy this and put it into the editor, and we will be able to see how far you got, or what have you tried, and then you probably will get an answer. But you can check out the previous questions. So if I go back to this how to change the border color, then there is already some answers here that are actually changing the border color, or to be very more specific, I think there is this fixed header overlap. There maybe I am the one who is answering sometimes, so this can happen also. Okay, so you can ask questions here with Ask Your Question if you want to, and you will be able to ask questions on Discord from study group if you stuck with something. So this is what we will have tomorrow. And let me check if there is something else. If you want to check or change the appearance of Codepen, you can change it easily by clicking on your head or user icon or photo, and there is a user menu, and in the settings you will be able to change your theme, basically. So if you want to have a dark theme, you can have a dark theme, and if you have a light theme, you can have a light theme. There are multiple themes that you can use if you want, and then if you have a dark theme, then if we go back to the previous page, then we will see a dark themed editor, and you will be able to use it. In order to change the whole background, you know already how to change that. You can change by setting a background to every element, for example black, and then we are going to change the whole thing. And now there is a little margin and padding over things. That's why not the whole thing is black, but most of the thing is black. This is not really good, so I will remove it. But the point is, probably you understand the point. So avatar, thank you. Okay, so summary again. Just everybody, maybe somebody arrived later or 10 minutes late and forgot it. This is the page where we will collect every useful thing for you. Here, the material reviews are going to be here as video, and the new ones, new stream ones as well. Here we are going to put a how to Discord video, a short one, and also you can watch this one about the course. There are a couple of frequently asked questions, and tomorrow the exercises are going to be available here and on Discord as well. And the Discord invitation link is going to be sent out in an email to your email address. And yes, the Discord is going to be grouped by languages. So you will be working with Hungarians if you are Hungarian, and you will be working with Czechs if you are Czech, hopefully. So that is the groups are going to be created by languages. So don't worry about that. And I don't see anything else. We are not going to use VS Code, but you can use VS Code tomorrow. We are going to use Codepen, so it is perfectly fine to do the exercises here. If you're already familiar with VS Code, you can use it if you want, obviously, but we will learn about it next week. So I think this is all the questions. I hope that I told everything enough times, learned from past mistakes, but the Stack Overflow is what's listed here. Stack Overflow is a page actually where you can find questions from the internet. So this is a page where there are a lot of questions about anything. For example, HTML, CSS, and there are going to be a lot of things here, and there are a lot of developers who are answering, but these are very, very specific questions about actual development projects. And but the point is that it is the same idea. You can ask a question and there is going to be an answer for the question, and we created our own version that is linked over the exercises, what I already showed you. So it is going to be just the same idea. If you know Stack Overflow already, it's just a very similar idea. So the Stack Overflow is for general coding help, and we have our own version of Stack Overflow to get help on the exercises. That is linked in the exercises, and so this is what I'm what I'm talking about. This page. A little bit different, but almost the same. It has the same features. So you can ask questions and other people can answer them. But here all the questions are going to be related to these exercises that you will have to do. So, let's check again the comments, and I don't see any new comments, so I think we can finalize this session with the go away message that tomorrow we will see each other at 3 o'clock. Until then, you can expect an email from us. In that email, we will be sending out the Discord invitations. And as a homework, if you want, you can check out parts of this video or the videos that are listed here, or the frequently asked questions, or you can download Discord and then install it on your machine. And tomorrow we will be starting the exercises. So this was your first material review. I hope it was understandable, even if it was in English. But I tried to talk as much as possible for everybody. And tomorrow you will have to work on your exercises to try these out in actual practice. So this is what will happen. See you and have a nice evening. Bye.